Welcome to the Fabulous 50s and Beyond. I'm Jim Pollard, your host. You stay tuned for our program. We have an exciting program for you. We're going to be talking about Markethouse Theater with Michael Cochran. You stay tuned and we'll be right back.
And he'd say, go with what you got. Start from where you are. Give it your best shot. Keep reaching for that star. Get in the race, keep your own pace, keep moving and never stop. Just go, go with what you got.
Welcome back. Our guest today is Michael Cochran, Executive Director of Markethouse Theater. Michael, it's good to have you here again today, and I'm always excited to talk about Markethouse. I've enjoyed many performances there, and you do a quality act, I want to say that.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed it. Today I thought we would talk about where you've been over the past years and what some of your future plans are. So for those who don't know, let's talk about the past.
Well, it's funny because we're on the show Fabulous 50s and we're in our 56th season. So it has been kind of Fabulous 50s for the Markethouse this decade in our history. We started out in 1963, and the city was going to tear down the Markethouse building because it was pretty much abandoned. It was kind of in a rundown shape. Nobody knew what to do with it. And the Civic Beautification Board came along and got a group of people in the city to create a theater to help save that building. They wanted to turn it into a cultural center. So Markethouse Theater was founded to save a building. And it has grown over its history. Since the 1980s, every decade, it has doubled its capacity. So now we have grown to, this past year, we have over 40,000 people come see what we do. We had, our educational program was in 4 states, in 12 counties, in 47 schools, 1,700 classes and workshops, and 57,000 student interactions. So it has grown from a small little theater that started out with 4 shows a year to a multi-million-dollar theater that now does 20 to 25 shows a year in a variety of ways. And I would say what's kept it continuously growing is that sense of community, of people who wanted to come down and get involved with the arts. And it's kind of a social thing. You make best friends. If you ever go into a strange town, find the community theater and suddenly you'll have a lot of friends. Markethouse has grown so much in our programming, in what we do with our educational programming, we've won awards nationally for our arts education, for our historic preservation, for some of the things that we're doing. And it is it's kind of a labor of love. I came in 1983 and have been there 36 years now, and have seen not only the Markethouse grow, but the downtown grow significantly. And in the 1990s, after we had outgrown the building that we had been in for so long, we looked across the street and there were 3 empty, condemned, historic buildings, and we got the Petter Supply Company to donate them to the theater for $1, and we did a $1.4 million expansion campaign to renovate them to their original historic appearance and bring them back to life. And that project saved half a block of Markethouse Square, and because we did that project, then Kirchhoff's Bakery came back into existence, the Etc. Coffee Shop, Max's Restaurant. All of that was basically created because Markethouse Theater needed to expand. And actually, physically, we stabilized the corner building on that lot, which held up half a block of buildings. So now the Markethouse has outgrown its space, and we are in the Next Stage campaign, which is a $5.6 million campaign to renovate and restore 11 historic buildings. That's how many buildings the Markethouse Theater operates out of now. We own all but 10 of the buildings. The one building we don't own is the Markethouse building, which is a historic, on the National Historic Register, owned by the city of Paducah, and we have a long-term lease on that. But we have grown so much with a full season of plays for adults, a full season of plays for families based on literature and books. We do touring shows in the 4-state area. We do shows for early childhood development with playtime. Teen improv troops, murder mystery shows. We do a lot.
Are all of the buildings that you own in a central area, or they are, and I know the answer to that, but are some of them spread out?
We have 9 buildings in our campus, and when we started to do the Next Stage project, we thought, okay, we need to expand. We need some more rehearsal room. We need some more classroom. We had the situation where we would have 100 kids audition for a show with 20 parts, and for the other 80 kids, we would say, I'm sorry, we've got nothing for you. We had a situation where we would have parents and grandparents coming to see their children in some of the class project shows in our current studio theater, and it only seats 80 people, and we would have to say, I'm sorry, there's no seats for you. So we decided to do a campus. We started in 2010 to do research on an expansion project, and what we discovered was it was important for us to have a campus of buildings that mom or dad could be in one place and know that I have a child over here and a child over here, and it's centrally located. We didn't want to spread out among several blocks. So we began to look at acquiring property, and we acquired the 8 buildings around the theater building on Markethouse Square and on Kentucky Avenue. Now we also have another building, the old Arcade Theater building, which most people don't know is owned by the Markethouse Theater. It's not the Arcade Office building, it is the theater building, which sits on South 5th Street. It's kind of sideways from the Columbia. At the back of the Columbia, they both run along the back wall. We use that for storage. And we also have the 823 Harrison Street building, which was the old Ideal Real building, which is right across from the Paducah School Art and Design. That's our scene shop, costume shop building, and some storage over there as well. So we have the 2 outbuildings, but the other 9 buildings are all within sight lines of each other.
So that makes it real convenient then.
It was important for us to be able to have a smaller staff that could manage all of these buildings. And really, as we started this project, we found some partners with music. Harmony Road School of Music partnered with us on this expansion, Next Stage project, and they are moving their operations to our buildings. So we will have music, dance, and theater classes all within a campus of buildings in downtown Paducah.
So you have all these different facets of art that you are involved in now. Mm-hmm. You teach dance and music too. I didn't know that you, I had heard that you were involved in dance, but I didn't know that you were involved in music.
Well, actually, it's our partnership with them. We aren't teaching it. We are leasing space to Harmony Road for long-term classes for kids to learn music. And dance, we started out wanting to do a space that would have a lot of different community arts participation in it. In the studies we did, we found out that many of the arts groups in town needed educational space. And as we started out, we had kids who wanted to learn to dance. Well, most of the dance companies in town do competitive dance, where the kids have to travel and do stuff, but some of the kids and parents didn't want to do that. They just wanted the kids to take a dance class. So we started out with a small little portable dance floor that we built to put in one of our buildings, and that program has just ballooned into 6 days a week, and Monday through Friday from about 3:30 or 4 in the afternoon until about 7 or 8 in the evening, there's solid dance classes. So a whole program is developed, and when the kids want to take dance now, they don't have to pay for expensive costumes. We just go to the costume shop for the dance recitals. So we try to keep it, we have scholarships for any kid who can't afford it. So we keep it, the fundamentals is what we teach, and we try to make it as inexpensive as possible.
Well, I think that's great. I really do. I think that's, and I can understand how that as a parent that they don't care for all the traveling or competition. They just wanted their kids to be involved in learning how to dance.
Well, and some kids, that was important. They wanted the competitive part of it, you know, and that there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But there are some kids who simply wanted to learn to dance better so they could audition better. Or our preschool ballet, the kids love to dance, you know, the princesses classes and the other things. So it's teaching movement. And with the arts, we learned a long time ago that we needed to find our niche in the community. When the Carson Center came in, the Markethouse had been the big theater thing in town before the Carson Center came in. And when the Carson Center came in, we did some reevaluation. What are we in the community? What do we need to do? And we understood that theater is a teaching tool. Using theater, using dance, using the arts to teach life skills to kids that help them beyond performing on a stage. Teach them self-confidence to get up in front of people. Teach them how to communicate more effectively their ideas. Teach them how to use their emotions and how to work with emotional conversations. Those are skills that go with you way beyond Markethouse Theater. And that's what we focused on, and that's why we think we don't just entertain, we change lives. That's the focus of what we do, using the arts, using theater to change the lives of the people in the community.
That's very important, because I think back a long way back when I was in high school, that I was involved in forensics, as it was known back then. I don't know what they call it today, but the forensic club did all the speaking and all the debating, and we put on 3-act and 1-act plays. 1 act for competition and 3 act to raise money every year for our trips. And I had to fill out a form the other day. Said, what was your favorite teacher? And it was Miss White, who was head of the forensic club, because we learned so much more. And back then I said, it wasn't for credit, it was extracurricular activities. And I said, if you were good enough, you got a letter that said debate on it, or one that said forensics on it, you know. But that experience that I personally had, well, it meant so much to me and was so great for the rest of my life.
Right.
I mean, just for the rest of my life, and everything that I was involved in and did, I learned so much from that. And it was very rewarding even while we were there too. So I think, you know, that's a good direction to be headed in for your programs and what you do. Well, we're going to take a break here, and then we're going to talk about what the future holds, because I know there's a lot in store that we're looking forward to, and I always want you to know I support Markethouse, and I always have, and I really appreciate the work that you do. So you stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Look beyond today's reality and imagine tomorrow's future. A better life for you starts at West Kentucky Community and Technical College. Whether you're a first-time college student or looking to pick up where you left off, you can chart your own course to success with our small class sizes, dedicated faculty, and flexible course offerings. At West Kentucky, it's all about you. Learn more at westkentucky.kctcs.edu. Welcome back. I'm Jim Pollard, your host, and our guest today is Michael Cochran,
and we're talking about Markethouse Theater, some of its past, some of its present, and we're going to talk about now some of the future, because I know they have a big future in store, and I'm excited about what's going on, Michael. So talk to us now about what's going to happen in the future.
Ooh, a lot of the future is happening right this moment.
Well, that's good.
With the Next Stage project, as I said, it's taken 10 years to do this project. And they say, University of Chicago did a study that said it takes 10 years to do a successful cultural project, and it has taken every bit of that. We started in 2010. We will be done with our project in 2020. We raised over 4.3 towards the 5.6. We're in that last fundraising phase. Our big goal has been to complete this project with no debt, and we have done that so far. We have purchased all the buildings. We have no debt. We completed the first phase, which was the acquisition of the buildings. The second phase was to do the scene shop. We've created a brand new scene shop, which gives us opportunities to build things that we never could before, when we had to build them in basically what was the size of somebody's garage. You build one piece, then you have to haul it into the theater, build the next piece, haul it in, and then put them together. Now we can build a whole set, and that allows us to fine-tune and do things. We still section it out to get it in the theater, but it lets us put it together first and solve the problems. Then the third phase was to do the lobby renovation. It had been 40 years since the lobby had been renovated. We expanded the restrooms in that, but it actually reduced the number of seats in the theater from 240 to 200. So during the run of a show, we'll still have about 1,800 to 2,000 people come and see a play that Markethouse does, because we run the shows a longer time. But having that intimate experience, we understand, is crucial to the success of Markethouse in the past and the future. Having the audience up close and personal. It's the kind of stories we do. The other part of the third phase is the classrooms for dance and music. Those are under construction right now and should be done by December of 2019. Then the last phase is the Finkel's building, which is the 200 Kentucky Avenue building, to redo that into a little bit larger studio theater. That's probably the biggest, most expensive piece, because it needs the most structural stabilization on that. When we finish that, and that should be done by December of 2020, all of this leads the theater back to those core things, which is an intimate theater experience. So amateur actors, kids and adults, succeed better when they don't have to have a lot of microphones and effects and everything around them, when it's just them talking with an audience right in front of them. They succeed in truly tremendous ways. So everything we've done has been focused on intimate spaces, keeping those spaces so that the audience is never more than 50, 60 feet away from the actors, up close and personal. And I think the educational program is in a point where it is transitioning, because now we have the spaces at the theater campus. We can offer more to the community at the theater campus. We do a lot in the school systems, and that's kind of a funnel right back into the theater. But now having that campus allows us to expand our programming even more, to do more after-school things. We couldn't do after-school classes because all our rehearsal spaces were full, and that was our rehearsal classroom space. So I think the future of the theater, it is funny, as when the Carson Center came in, we had to identify what was important to us, go back to our core principles, find out who we were and what our niche was. And in this digital world, as everything is constantly changing on it and disrupting everything, including theater, it is trying to stay nimble enough that we can change with how the culture is changing, and yet keep that intimate, that, theater as a teaching tool for life skills, keep those as the primary thing we do, but to offer more space for interactive theater, so that the audience actually gets to interact and be part of the show. That's part of what the studio theater in the Finkel's building helps us do, what we do with some of our murder mysteries. Doing more things that we can create environments, we can actually get our audience as participants in the art, and not just as passive people who are sitting watching the art happen.
Well, that makes it more involved, not only for the actors, but for the viewers also.
Mm-hmm.
and that makes it more exciting and more interesting that they can take part in it. I pastored for a lot of years, and I used to encourage my people to talk to me if they needed to while I was up there preaching, you know. If they wanted to say something to me, that's okay, you know. And it makes them become more a part of the activity that you're involved in. Well, I know that you talked about how much money you have raised. What are your future plans for raising the other amount of money?
We have, right now we are trying to sell tax credits, and actually we are right on the edge of that. That's why this project has to be done by December of 2020. We are a nonprofit organization, so the work that we're doing with historic preservation is the largest historic preservation project that we know of in Paducah history, with 11 buildings involved with that. And because we can sell those tax credits, and people go, how do you sell a tax credit? Well, there are for-profit businesses that have a large tax liability. We can take the tax credits, and we have about $6 million of tax credits to sell. We can sell those tax credits for 85 cents on the dollar. So it actually benefits a person to buy the tax credits to put towards their taxes, and after all of the attorneys and the CPAs and all of them get through with their fees, the net of that then goes to us to finish our project, finish construction. So we have a little bit of fundraising left to do in the community. The project has been supported almost 98% by individual donors in this community have supported that project. We've only had 2 grants totaling, the total of the 2 grants was about $100,000 out of the $4.3 million we've raised. But it is critical to us that we end with no debt. So the project is always informed by the amount of money you have to raise. And as we sell the tax credits and as we finish out that final piece, that's what we will do so that 2020 we end with no debt and we finish the project.
I've never heard of tax credits, selling them like that. But if anybody out there has a tax problem, this is an ideal situation. Because I remember years ago when I was in business, I didn't call it selling tax credits, but I was a nurseryman and tree farmer, and I found out that I could find a piece of property that was set aside that a developer had bought for future development, but was having to pay development taxes on it already. And if I went in there and planted so many trees on his land, his land became agricultural exempt again. I mean, I had one guy tell me that on 15 acres the first year I saved him over $10,000 in taxes. So this would be an ideal situation.
There are so many opportunities in the downtown area with the TIF financing district, with some of the opportunity zone credits. There's a lot of credits to do. Paducah is considered rural, so we're in the rural census tract for what we do, and there are certain buildings that they are really, the city is trying to work hard with developers that have opportunities for for-profit businesses to save a substantial amount of money to invest in those businesses. And I started out in the arts, and since then, I have been in historic preservation, I have been in the tax credit sale business, I have done all these things, but what I am passionate about is the arts. And I'm passionate about Paducah. I am not from Paducah, I've been here 36 years, so it's my home now. And this community is a very special community because you don't see towns this size doing the projects like Markethouse Theater is doing some of the things this city is doing in other places. And every time I go someplace else, they're like, tell me about Paducah. Tell me about how you're doing the things you're doing. How is a community theater doing the largest preservation project in a city's history? How do you do that? And it's because we work with so many different partners on things, and we understand the value of not just Markethouse Theater putting on plays, but the value of the history of a community. With the walking ghost tours we do, our historic stories about the community, with developing that sense of what makes Paducah special, what makes it unique. And Markethouse Theater is a part of that, and trying to keep that in our minds as we make a bunch of buildings, a campus, to be a center in the community for multiple people to use, and also help with economic development with making the buildings, 2 of the buildings we bought for a combined total of $130,000, we're now investing $1.3 million in those 2 buildings for education. Well, that just improved the property values of everything around us.
Right, right.
So we're as much in economic development, historic preservation, and the arts. All 3 of those things are what we're actively involved with.
Well, I tell people, and I've said ever since I became part of Paducah, that Paducah is a unique city.
Mm-hmm.
In many ways, it's a unique city. And one of the ways that it's unique is in the amount of money that it gives. And its participation in civic activities. Well, I'm sure you won't mind me encouraging people to call you to talk about those
Not at all.
buying
I love
those
that.
tax credits. And I want to encourage them to, because it's a win-win situation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. I'm not a financial advisor, but I think that that's something that people should look into if they need a tax break of some kind.
Well, and I think too, I mean, you have to have about $1 million in liability to take advantage of this. But what people are giving to is they are giving to the future of kids and arts programming and to this community when they support this project. It's not just a place that puts on plays. You're giving to the fabric of what the community is about. And Markethouse is a big part of that in the downtown area and developing that whole campus down there. So, you know, when we talk to people, there's multiple reasons to give to the project, but really you're investing in the future of the kids of this community and in their success with those skills that we're teaching them.
That's so true, Michael. And Michael, I appreciate you being with us today. We're out of time again, and I want to encourage people to get in touch with you in any way they can that they might be able to help. And we're happy that you've been with us today, and we want to encourage you to watch our shows as we have them from time to time. And remember now, use it or lose it.
Can't see as well as I used to. Can't run as far or as fast. Sometimes I think